Getting ready to put your motorcycle away for the winter? You can follow a laundry list of steps that'll soak up half a day, or you can do just 2 things and safeguard against the biggest issues bikes face during storage. Today in RevZilla, we'll show you how to winterize your motorcycle the easy way. Let's open up the shop manual. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Ari lives in Southern California. What the heck does he know about winterization? Well, I did grow up in New England, and while my ultimate solution to winter was to sell out and move somewhere warm, I know a thing or two about snow shovels, snow plows, snow days, ice on the roads, salt on the roads, boilers, frozen pipes, and bedding down bikes. And when it comes down to it, there's only 2 things you need to worry about if you want your bike to start come spring. It's just like the last shoot, just dump and sweat. The first and biggest issue with long-term storage is what's in your tank. Gasoline is a volatile fluid, which means it wants to evaporate, and the lighter molecules jump ship first, leaving behind the thicker, heavier stuff. At the same time, the gas is oxidizing, i.e. going stale and thickening further. Sometimes it seems like modern gas has the shelf life of yogurt, and in short order, the contents of your tank can become gross enough to clog your jets, fuel pump, or injectors, all of which is a big problem to fix. Worse yet, today's fuels contain ethanol, which is hygroscopic and will pull moisture out of the air. So you can end up with water in your gas, which will corrode your tank and other fuel system components. If you have a carbureted bike, you can drain the carbs and the tank and store it dry. But with a fuel-injected bike, there is no practical way to get all of the gas out of it. So your best bet is to do the opposite. Fill the tank and add a fuel stabilizer. Stabilizer is the single best thing you can do to protect your bike during long-term storage, and it's as easy to use as pouring the correct amount into a full tank of gas and then starting the bike to push the treated fuel through the system. Notice that I said to add it to a full tank of gas. That's important since it reduces airspace and thus moisture inside the tank, and it will also keep the bare metal submerged so that it won't rust. Having a full tank also means that you have your bike's entire range at your disposal once it's warm enough to ride again. Fuel stabilizer is really impressive stuff, but it's not miracle juice and it won't make bad gas good again. So it's important to add it before you park your bike. Considering how important this one step is, it's awfully easy to do. The next big concern when winterizing your motorcycle is the battery. Most motorcycles rely on lead acid batteries, and these have the unfortunate tendency to self-discharge at a rate of up to 1 volt per month. As this is happening, the cells are beginning to sprout lead sulfate crystals. Sulfation is a normal part of the chemical process that turns lead oxide, and sulfuric acid into electricity, but the crystals usually get dissolved once the bike is running and current is flowing back into the battery. Except you're not riding in December, or January, or February. So after a while, the discharge in sulfation may be so extensive that it can't be revived. RIP, battery. Luckily, it's easy enough to avoid an unresponsive starter button, a useless brick of hazardous waste, and the $100 expense of a new battery. Connecting your bike to a smart charger, otherwise known as a maintainer, a float charger, or a tender will keep your battery happy and keep sulfation at bay. And if you've got a battery lead, plugging the tender in is super easy. Keep in mind, not all chargers are suitable for long-term storage. It's important to use one that turns off once the battery is charged and only feeds current when needed. Old school, constant rate chargers and trickle chargers kick out a non-stop flow of electrons, so they'll overcharge your cells if left plugged in. If that's the kind of charger you have, you're best off connecting it to a battery for a few hours once a month. If you don't have power where you're storing your bike, pull the battery out so you can take it inside and hook it up to life support. And if your bike uses a modern lithium-ion battery, you've got it easy. The self-discharge rate on these things is so low that all you need to do is disconnect the negative battery terminal. No maintainer required. Okay, so with maybe 5 minutes of effort, you have treated your fuel and safeguarded your battery, and honestly, that's all you really need to do to ensure your bike will start once the snow melts. However, as good stewards of our motorcycles, there are a few other things we should do in order to preserve our bikes during winter storage. First up, give your bike a wash to remove grime and corrosives. You can also wax the paint, apply silicone detailer to plastic parts, and wipe down chrome, polished or anodized metal stuff with a light coat of WD-40 to protect against corrosion. Of course, cleaning and lubing your chain is always smart, and apply a heavy coat to keep the links from rusting. It's also a good idea to put your bike under a cover. Something breathable and synthetic is best since it will keep the dust off, won't mildew, and won't trap moisture. As for fluids, replace the coolant if it's more than 2 years old to make sure you have adequate freeze and corrosion protection. And if your oil is more than halfway due for a change, go ahead and swap it out now. But if the coolant and oil are relatively fresh, they'll be fine for the winter. And finally, your tires. Inflate them to the maximum PSI listed on the sidewall and then forget them. Seriously, rather than fretting about flat spots this winter, transfer that concern for your tire pressures to the riding season because the vast majority of riders aren't checking their pressures often enough, and rolling around on underinflated rubber is one of the worst things you can do for your bike's handling and tire wear. With that, your bike should be all set for its winter nap. To reiterate, you need to either drain or treat your gas, and you've got to hook your battery up to a tender. Anything beyond that is like extra crackers on your chowder. It's not necessary, but I would highly recommend it, and it'll definitely help your bike get to hibernation in better shape.